So how do you map out the entire future of a nation? Well, for Oman, the answer is something called Vision 2040. Today, we're going to unpack the 5-year progress report on this huge national project, and we're really going to focus on how they're building that future on the foundation of its own people.
And you know, this whole vision, it's driven right from the very top. This quote here from Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, it really sets the stage. It frames the entire 2040 plan as something more than just a government strategy. It's a solemn promise to the people of Oman, which right away sets this incredibly clear tone of commitment and national purpose.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll get the big picture on what Vision 2040 is all about. Then, we're going to zoom right in on its foundation, the human and society pillar. After that, we'll check the report card, see how they're doing in areas like education, and finally, we'll look ahead, beyond 2025, to see what's coming next.
Okay, let's dive into the big picture first. Oman Vision 2040. Look, this is not just another dusty policy paper sitting on a shelf. Think of it more like the nation's guiding star, right? It's the map for all development until the year 2040. And what's really important to know is that this was built on a broad community consensus. So it's not just a top-down thing. It's meant to reflect what the Omani people themselves actually want for their future.
So if we were to boil it all down, what is it exactly? Well, it's a massive national strategy built around 12 key priorities. You can think of it as a detailed roadmap to get Oman to a future that's not just wealthy, but also sustainable and way more economically diverse. The big goal here? To reduce that historic reliance on oil and gas.
You know, at the end of the day, any grand national vision is only as strong as its people. It's just that simple. And that's exactly why we're going to focus on what Oman calls the human and society pillar. This is the absolute foundation of the whole thing. It's built on the belief that a nation's single greatest asset is a creative, well-educated, and healthy society.
So the main goal here is to cultivate what they call a creative human society. And that big idea rests on these 4 interconnected priorities you see: education and research, health, citizenship and culture, and of course, welfare and social protection. Now, they're all super important, but for our deep dive today, we're going to zero in on that first one: education, learning, and scientific research.
All right, so a grand vision is one thing, but how does it actually translate into real-world results? Let's check the 5-year report card, and we'll start with education and innovation. This is really where the rubber meets the road, where we see the vision turning into reality.
But that leads to a pretty big question, doesn't it? How on earth do you actually measure something as fuzzy as a nation's innovative power? I mean, how do you put a number on a country's ability to create, to invent, and to compete on a global scale?
Well, one of the most respected ways to do that is by using something called the Global Innovation Index. Basically, it's this massive, comprehensive scorecard that ranks countries on, well, everything. We're talking their universities, their infrastructure, their tech output, even their creative industries.
So, where does Oman stand? According to the very latest report, Oman ranks 69th in the world. Now, okay, that number by itself doesn't tell you the whole story, not even close. The real story here is the momentum. Because if you look back just a few years ago, Oman was way down at 79th. So jumping 10 spots in that short a time, that's a really significant achievement. It's a crystal clear sign that the national strategies they put in place for innovation are starting to gain real traction, and, they're actually paying off.
Okay, so that's the broad innovation picture. But we all know that innovation is often born inside universities. So that begs the question, what's happening in Oman's higher education system?
The answer? 5. As of 2026, a total of 5, count 'em, 5, Omani universities have earned a spot in the super prestigious QS World University Rankings. That is a huge step onto the global academic stage.
And if you really want to see that momentum in action, just look at the nation's top university, Sultan Qaboos University. It leaped an incredible 28 spots in just 1 year, landing at 334th in the world. And that jump was driven by real improvements in things like academic reputation, research output, and getting graduates into good jobs.
But listen, progress isn't just happening at the university level. Because to have great universities, you need a strong foundation. And that's why Oman has launched a brand new national system to evaluate school performance. The whole idea is to raise the quality of education right from the very beginning of a student's journey.
And of course, to really fuel innovation, you need a connected community of researchers. So Oman has created SHAA, which is this national platform that now brings together over 5,000 researchers. It's like a central hub, consolidating all their scientific studies, papers, and innovations in one place.
And looking ahead to the future, there's a really smart strategic push to connect education directly with the job market. By creating a vocational and technical track for high schoolers in grades 11 and 12, Oman is literally building a pipeline of skilled talent that its growing, diversifying economy is going to need.
So, that new school evaluation system I mentioned, how does it actually work? Well, think of it as a cycle of continuous improvement. First, they set clear national standards for quality. Then the schools themselves do a self-assessment. After that, external review teams come in for an objective look. And here's the most important part. They take all those findings and turn them into a concrete plan for improvement. It's a totally data-driven way to raise the bar for every single school.
And of course, behind this huge push in research is a really clear funding strategy. The latest numbers show this kind of two-pronged approach. On one side, you have the institutional funding program, which is all about fueling that pure curiosity-driven academic research at universities. But on the other side, you have the strategic research program, and this one directly targets the real-world challenges that the government and industry are facing right now. So it ensures that research has an immediate practical impact.
Okay, so the momentum in education is undeniable, right? But it's so important to remember that this is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Education is part of that bigger human and society pillar. So let's zoom back out for a second and see how all the success connects to other really critical areas.
Because this focus on people, it's not just limited to classrooms and research labs. Nope, it extends to every area of well-being. And health is another massive priority where this vision is really coming to life.
And the achievements in health are frankly just as impressive. I mean, we're talking about huge milestones here, like the country's very first successful heart transplant from a deceased donor, or the launch of a national genome program that's for advancing personalized medicine. They've opened 10 new health institutions, and they're even using AI to detect retinal disease earlier. It just shows this all-in commitment to public health.
And this really brings us full circle. That human and society pillar we've been talking about, it's the bedrock for sure. But it doesn't stand alone. It's deeply connected to the other three main pillars: economy and development, governance, and creating a sustainable environment. When you make progress in one, it creates this powerful ripple effect across the entire national project.
So that leaves us with one final big picture thought to chew on. We've seen the data, right? We've seen the real, tangible progress just 5 years into this thing. With such a strong foundation built on its people, the really interesting question isn't just if Oman will achieve its vision, it's how this massive investment in human capital will ultimately reshape its entire economic and environmental future for generations to come.